Hey, my name is Chad. This video we're going to finally, if you've been following along for a while, you know how long that finally is, but I finally got the Area 419 S Series die in for my 6 Creedmoor. So just off the bat, they come in these very nice packages, and they do not skimp out on making things look good. If you got anything from Area 419, you know that they typically always make really good stuff, but in this case they also package it really well. So you get a hard case with a lock on the lever. I don't know how secure you need to keep your die, but it's really secure, at least for shipping. So also comes with a couple of little wrenches, and then one full-size wrench that's going to be for their locking ring. I'm not sure if I'm going to use it. I'll show you why here in a moment, but I think I'm going to do something else. And then so far as extras, you also get an extra decapping pin. So let's take a look at the actual die itself. Now this is really the main thing that I've been wanting. So obviously a die, sizing die, does pretty much the same thing. Difference with this is you do not have to use bushings. They reamer cut the exterior dimensions based pretty much on SAMI specs for whatever cartridge. So for my case, my 6 Creedmoor is just going to size the body and neck into SAMI specs. Where the real benefit's going to come into is this right here. So this is their decapping part of it, but it's also a full-size mandrel. So instead of having to have a sizing die, run all your brass through that, then run it through a mandrel die to set your neck tension where you want it, you've got it all in one step. That's what I'm looking for. Any way to save time is a good thing for me. So I went ahead and did most of the basic stuff. I took it apart, cleaned it, and I mean really it's as simple as it gets. You do not have anything inside to mess with setting, so you just got a nice cap on the top and then your mandrel with your spring-loaded decapper built into it. So in theory, I just need to drop that in and then thread that on here, and that's all really the setup I got to do, besides setting the depth of the die for my shoulder bump. So one thing I was looking at, their lock ring, I mean it looks really great. If I had a zero press, I'm sure this would be the preferred way to go. You can use that tool, get it locked down, and it's going to stay put and not have to worry about moving it anywhere. I'm running on my Mech Marksman still, so what I've decided to do, instead of running their die, I'm going to go ahead and go with what I'm used to, which is running the Hornady lock rings. Those I know I can actually lock down and then pinch into place, and one of my bushings. So I've had good luck with this so far. The reason I like to use this is I can use that right there and lock the ring down to the bushing, and that's going to keep it in place. And then whenever I go to change it, I just use, so there's going to be something to consider. The wrench is not going to fit over the cap here. So since that's not going to fit, I'll probably just have to use a crescent wrench and get this set. And honestly, most of the time I'm able to hand pop the bushing die loose and remove it, but if I have any issues, I can just have a crescent wrench sized in the area that I need, and we'll make it work. Okay, so what I've decided to do is take some of the brass that I had from my last match, and if anybody watched that match footage, I found out what was wrong on the truck stage where we're shooting the mover. While I was having problem chambering around, I've got one that I've got a little bit of a burr on the outside of the neck. So I'm not sure what the best thing to do there, just like take a little bit of Brillo pad or something and kind of shave off that excess until it'll chamber. Or do I pull it and give up on this piece of brass? Is it done? I'm thinking I should be able to just clean that up a little bit and put it back into rotation, but I'm keeping an eye on it, and we're going to be a little bit safe with that. But I've still got some rounds loaded up, and I'll be using those here very soon. So I pretty much decided I'm around 2,300 rounds on my barrel, but he said that's definitely not a match barrel anymore. So I have got to come to terms with the fact that I've got to change my barrel. So I've got a barrel down here. I've got it all set up, ready to go. I'm going to get my rifle broken down this week, and then I'm going to take it over, and we are going to go ahead and break that apart and change the barrel this week so I can start putting some rounds through it. It's going to need, 150, 200 or so to get the barrel broke in, and then I may have to readjust my my sizing shoulder bump, possibly, depending on how different the chamber is from what I've got now. And I may have to tweak my powder charge just a little bit and then reset zero, all that fun stuff that comes with changing a barrel. So that'll be coming soon, because I think I'm going to take off most of August. It's always very hot and miserable here, so try to get everything refreshed and ready to go definitely for September. But we're going to just see what we can get done here in the next couple of weeks and get as prepared as possible and get through these hottest weeks of the year. Okay, so let's take a look at a little bit of the preparations that I go through. I'm going to go ahead and set this die over here closer to the press. And what I've got in the habit of doing is having pretty much enough for a full 100. So 2 of these 50 piece blocks, I'll have them kind of laid out, and they're already gunky. So if I am doing something where I want to use Hornady one shot, I've already got some gunked up blocks, and I don't have to keep cleaning and trying to reuse them. So I've got some mostly well dedicated just to sizing. So Area 419 actually does recommend using one shot, and they say to just get it all over the case itself and down into the neck and follow the directions, and you should be good. I don't know how I feel about that, so part of me still wants to go with what process I have developed here lately, which has been using this Imperial dry neck lube from Redding, and it's pretty cool. So it's got these little beads in here that are coated with their dry lube, and before opening it, I just give it a little shake, and that recoats the beads. But what I've got in the habit of doing is take my piece of brass and just get my neck down in there, and then I'll use my lube pad here with the Alpha case lube on it, and then just give it a roll. And it really does not take much of this Alpha lube, at least from what I've experienced so far. So that's a process that I have gotten into doing. And then after I size everything, I'll run a neck brush through it as I drop it into my rice, and then clean with Flit's media additive. So this gets it really shiny and really cleans everything up good. I don't know if I want to change my process and go back to the one shot, because I was having some very, very tight cases using this before, just with the die setup that I had previously. So I think all we're going to do today is a very preliminary test here. So I'm just going to get a couple pieces prepped, and really we want to just make sure we get lube up to our necks and down the body, because this is a full size sizing die, so it's going to be lubing or sizing all the way down to the base of the case. And we just want to make sure that we are well lubricated, because this is the most critical time when sizing. When things can go the most wrong is going to be at this step if you do not have a good amount of lube already pre-applied. So I think we'll call it good. We're just going to size a few just to get this die close to set up and see how it runs. Knowing that I'll probably need to readjust it a little bit after firing from the new barrel, I don't want to, size that whole batch just yet. I've already annealed it all, decapped it all, and it's all ready to go. I think I just want to stop there, and we'll see how we do with 5 cases. I think we'll be able to get pretty close, at least get the concept and see how smooth this new one is going to work. So let's go over and take a look at the press. So up till now, my process has been, I've got my Redding 6 Creedmoor sizing die, and I'll get that locked into place, and then I'll run all of my brass through, size it all, and then I'll pop this one out, and while all my cases are still lubed and in the on the block there, I'll go ahead and drop in the Cortina mandrel die, lock it down, and then run every single piece through it again. So if I'm doing 50 cases, I'm running 100 processes through here. I'll admit that's kind of frustrating. So my goal with this is to be able to finally get pretty well all set to where I've got one die and I'm doing both of those steps at once. So instead of double action on everything, I'm getting it done one single time. So usually what I like to do when I'm setting a new die and I haven't got the ring set yet, I'll get it in there and then double check that that bushing is all the way locked into place. I don't care if I mar up the outside of it. I just want to make sure it is locked all the way down, and I think this is. So next comes the fun part of the job, where I'm going to have to attempt to keep everything tight down on the bushing, but loosen it up enough that I can set this. So typically you want to go down to where you're just touching your shell holder. So that's going to be right about there. Some people like to back off a little bit. I want to get as much sized as I can. So typically I'm going to start right about there. In theory, this should be set. I will take a few measurements on these just to get an idea of where I'm at now. Typically with my current chamber on my fired brass, I'm usually right there, anywhere from 1 to 2 thousandths over 0, and 0 would be just semi-spec. Check another one here. So that one's giving me right at 1. So I really only need to bump back 1, maybe 2 thousandths, and I'll be pretty well set. And another one right there at 1. So my fired brass comes out very consistent. I will say that about alpha. It is always super, super consistent. So, all right, let's see, moment of truth. Let's see what happens here. So in theory, we're going to size and mandrel all in one step. That's definitely running a mandrel because that was much tighter coming out. Reminds me to grab this. So the main reason I'm doing a few now instead of waiting until I get everything set up after my new barrel is I want to use my neck tension gauge and see if I'm going to be right here around the 241 mark. The included mandrel I believe is a 2415, and my Cortina is I believe a 241. I'm hoping that with the spring back of doing both actions at once, it's going to settle right here around the same 241. Usually I can get this in and just barely start on the 241. So if neck tension is a little bit different, that is going to affect my my speeds and pressures. But that's actually coming right about where it's at when I size with the Cortina die. So that is really, really good to see. That was one of my concerns, is I would have a vastly different number there. So let's just drop it in here, kind of get an idea of where we're at so far as pushing the shoulder back. And looks like we did not really get anything done there. Okay, so just looking at this, I will say one thing I don't like is we don't really have any marks on here to kind of judge where we're tweaking it. But let's see where we settle there. I think we'll be okay without fully tightening everything down, but let's find out. Okay, closer down to the 1.5, so would be good to come down just a little bit more. All right, so I'm trying to use the S on the dash of the S dash series here as kind of my reference point so far as a 360 angle. But let's see where we end up here. This will be my last one either way. From what I'm seeing, I've totally got the proof of concept for what I wanted to check for today and just show off the basics of getting it set. To me, that's always the worst part of any kind of new die is getting that initial setting on everything. That's just miserable to me. Okay, so that one probably pushed me a little bit too far still. I'm down to, oh, that's about a 3,000th bump, so probably going to back it off just a little bit from here and then call it good. So from what I'm seeing, once we get pretty close to the setting, it's small changes are pretty dramatic. So it's not quite like 1/8 of a turn for a 1,000th on some of the other dies that are out there. So definitely be a good starting point here, but in theory this should be pretty well set, at least close enough to where I'm going to have a very close starting point once I get my new barrel installed. Because I'm definitely going to reset everything once I get all my brass fire formed to the new chamber. But that's going to be kind of the project for the next couple of weekends. So get ready to see some barrel change content. I told my buddy he's got all the stuff to set it up and do it, that I want to film it. So if I do something completely stupid, we can all laugh at me together. But so you can see that's definitely why I want to use these bushings. It definitely makes it quick and easy. I've got my little stand over here. So I can just set that die in there, grab my next one when I'm going to go to seating. I've got it set up, ready to go. I've got a puller die set up. I've got some of my 223 stuff set up back here. Although I hardly ever have time to load anything else, but got it all set up, ready to go. If you're like me and get really excited when really cool new stuff comes out, that'll definitely give you good results and save you a little bit of time at the same time, go ahead and get subscribed right down below here, because if it's going to help my performance and save me some time, I'm definitely going to be checking it out. So stay tuned. I'll probably be showing it off pretty soon if I haven't already. Okay, so I think initial testing, at least for what I wanted to find out, just to get an idea if this is actually going to work for what I wanted it to do, it's looking good. I really just got to get that shoulder bump set, which I'm not too worried about right now. Like I said, changing barrels, that's going to change a little bit. My main concern was figuring out if the included mandrel was going to give me the neck tension very close to what I've already got, or if I need to order their kit. So downside, they don't sell just a single mandrel size like most every other one. You've got to get it in a kit. So if I needed to change, I'd have to get a kit of 5. That's like another $275 or $175. I can't remember, but it's expensive, and it comes with, like, for my application, like a 240, 2405, 241, 2415, 2420. Like, it goes in what, 5/10 thousandths increments. So they're very, very, very precise. You can really tune in your neck tension using these dies and mandrels. But from what I've been able to see using this neck tension gauge from Forster, which you get in each caliber. So for 243, it's going to give me a 239, 240, 241, and a 242. So each of these rings on here is a different tension of your neck. So it passes the 39, passes the 40, and then we start getting tension there at 241, which is exactly what I wanted it to be. So I should not have many differences so far as my powder charge and stuff. It's really going to depend on this new barrel, but I've got to get it broken in. Thankfully, I've got some like boxed ammo that I was going to use for matches and just didn't like very much. I've still got some of my old Lapua brass loaded up. I should have enough on hand to get those 150 to 200 rounds fired through it pretty quickly and get that broken in fairly soon. And then we can get back to resizing this and get my shoulder bump just perfect and get into setting this up, having to rework a load, which will hopefully just take some slight tweaks. I'm thinking my powder charge is going to be fairly close, and then hopefully by the time I run through and break it in, I won't have to up it too much to get to similar velocities. But this will be my first barrel change, and I'm going to learn it all as I go through it. So definitely stick around for that, because it might be interesting. It might be a total disaster, but hopefully it all goes fairly smooth, and we don't have to get another barrel, because I don't think I could do that right now. Let me know what you think of my process. Drop a comment if I do anything that looks totally wonky to you. Do you got any questions on anything I do? Like I said, over the last couple months of reloading all my match ammo before every one of my matches, I've gotten really kind of into a pretty good groove here with the Imperial, this dry neck lube. I just dip the neck of the case in and then roll it on the pad with the Alpha lube, and I got my outside and inside lubed pretty well. Then I just brush it out and we're in pretty good shape. So the only thing I will probably want to keep an eye on is going to be to take this out and clean that mandrel every so often. But one thing on these that I didn't mention, because I decap before I anneal, so I don't bother with it on sizing. Their decapping pin is supposed to be, I believe, a spring-loaded. So if you do decap when you size, it should kick that primer out, and you're not going to have to worry about it sucking back up in and getting stuck, causing problems like that. So this should be a really solid die. Everybody I know has said they've really enjoyed theirs and have really good success with it. So I'm expecting to have pretty much the same kind of result. Now, if you saw my short, the first one I got did have a nice little nick in it, and somehow it made it through QC. Don't know how. Even awesome companies, little mistakes can happen. So always inspect your stuff, even if it's coming from a high-end reputable company like Area 419. Mistakes do happen, but they were super quick. Got me a new one out, had a return label, and as soon as I got it in, I looked it over. This one's all in good shape. Sent the other one back, and we're back in business. I think that's going to do it for this little video looking at the Area 419 S series die for my 6 Creed. I think I answered the questions that I wanted to know, and I should be good to run it with the current mandrel. I don't need to spend more money on a whole set of 5 other sizes. We should be in good shape. So next big hurdle is going to be tear my rifle down and get that barrel changed over, and then start that whole process. So definitely want to stay tuned for that. Pretty sure that's what's going to be coming next week, and we're just going to run it and see what we can do. So I'm going to try to change it over at my buddy's house and film what I can over there, and then I'll show you after and as we start breaking it in. Hopefully I do that right, but you guys be sure to let me know whatever I need to improve on. I learn the most from you guys that watch these videos. So thank you very much for hanging out with me for a few minutes today. I really do hope you have a great rest of your day and a wonderful weekend. We'll see you on the next one. Bye.